Good evening. This meeting of the Jefferson County Board will now come to order. Roll call, please.
Okay, we have 28 present and 2 absent.
All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Wehmeyer, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You're invited to remain standing for a moment to contemplate our service to the public. Thank you. We are in compliance with open meeting law.
we are, Mr. Chair.
Next is approval of the agenda. Would anybody like the order of the agenda altered in any way? Okay, we'll proceed as printed. Next is approval of the May 14th, 2019 meeting minutes. Supervisor Renard, please.
I move approval of the minutes as presented.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed, no. The minutes are approved. Next is communications.
Okay, I have the treasurer's report, which is on this mint green color paper. And then the zoning committee's notice of public hearing, which is June 20th, 2019, in this room at 7 p.m. And then Mr. Wehmeyer has some updates on the comprehensive plan.
So thank you. Tonight at your desk are 2 releases concerning the comprehensive planning plan and agricultural preservation land use plan, public meetings that are starting to come up. And so the first one actually talks about the regional meetings that we've discussed, and that was part of the public input policy that you adopted. And we'll be having 4 of them. They're going to be starting on Monday, June 24th. That first one will be at the Bank of Lake Mills in Watertown. The second one will be on Wednesday, June 26th in Palmyra Eagle High School. The third one will be July 10th at the Dwight Foster Memorial Library. And the fourth one is Thursday, July 11th at the Lake Mills Municipal Building. You also have a hard copy about our survey, but we also have already set up on the website how to get to the information. So, quickly, when you go to the website, you're going to see in the lower right-hand corner an item that says public input needed. And if you hit read more, that's going to take you right to our take the survey section. As you scroll down, it talks about the public meetings that are available. And then you can visit the plan website. So this is one way to get to that plan website. But there's another way I want to make sure everyone's aware as well. And that's if you go up to government, in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see a tab called Comprehensive Plan and Agricultural Preservation and Land Use Plan. And again, that gives you more information related to the plan. Again, it talks about the survey and things going on and where the public input meetings are at, the press release, the comprehensive plan, the current one, so there's a direct link to that, the current Agricultural Preservation and Land Use Plan, members of the steering committee, and then the meeting agenda from that first meeting. We've also started to post this on Facebook pages and things like that. So the goal of tonight is to make sure we get public input. And so we need everybody, including our friends from the press, to help us get this out so we can encourage residents and stakeholders' participation in the comprehensive plan update, the survey, and the public meetings coming up. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wehmeyer. Any other communications?
Yep, one more. We have a short presentation on the upcoming Farm Technology Days that I will play for you right now.
For those of you who haven't seen it, this video is really well done.
I would best describe Jefferson County as a great place to live and work. It's a gem of a county within a great gem of a state.
I would describe Jefferson County as a rural area with a small town feel, but it's close enough to Madison and Milwaukee to feel like you can get some big city action if you want it. It's kind of the best of both worlds.
The thing about Jefferson County, it's kind of comprised of small community, so you got a really warm feeling, so it's a great place to visit or raise a family.
There's a lot of community events. It's a very close-knit community, and all of the communities in our area are pretty close-knit.
Most people like to go to the farmers markets that are in their own areas, and of course, nobody's going to turn down a beer as well, so plenty of breweries in the county.
Just being a native, I've enjoyed using the bike trails, so the Glacial Drumlin is a favorite. There's plenty of places to kayak and fish in Jefferson County.
Jefferson County has an awful lot of small micro businesses, and they have become quite popular where you can meet with the owners and see their passion and pride in the product that they've developed. Pinecone's been in Johnson Creek area for 45 years. We make everything in-house, scratch to order. We have a very large bakery that people drive from all over to pick up.
Jones Dairy Farm was developed in 1889. There are 6 generations of family members who have participated in the business, making this company what it is today.
Milford Hills has been in the area since 1996. We are a upland bird hunting club. From meetings to sporting clay outings and then doing weddings as well.
We here at Wade'll serve burgers, chocolate chip ice cream. We're more famous for our sliders and our 103-year recipe.
Our atmosphere in here is amazing when we're packed and busy. It's kind of like a family gathering.
In this community, it's very clear that farming is a dominant industry and always has been. I mean, I think about our own business here, and it really started from a dairy farmer's background.
You start with the crust, you got the flour, then you got the cheese, the meats, the pork, everything comes from agriculture. So, I mean, without them, we're lost. We don't have a business.
Serving dinner to 6,000 people a week means we're very dependent on agriculture. We try to use a lot of local and Wisconsin-sourced products whenever we can.
We wouldn't be here without agriculture. Our business is so reliant upon agriculture, not just for customers, but for the product itself.
I think the area is very excited to host Farm Tech Days.
It's a great way to come out and bring the kids and the whole family to see what really goes on at farms and how everything runs.
I see a lot of interest already from people. We've been handing out brochures here for a couple months now. I think just the idea of having tens of thousands of people show up in July here is going to be pretty awesome.
We've got people that work for us that are part of FFA or 4-H, and they're talking about it, how excited they are, not only just to see the latest and greatest in technology, but to actually volunteer and be out there and be a part of it. It's impossible to miss.
Once the event is even here, it will become even more exciting for the people that live here.
I, for one, am extremely excited about it, and I think everybody in Jefferson County is going to be delighted with what happens there this summer.
Any other communications?
Nope, that is it.
Thank you, Clerk McGraw. You want to visit Farm Technology Days, especially, what day is it that Charlie will be there? Wednesday. This-
afternoon, 3:30 to 6:30. There'll be a block party, so.
Charlie Barron's. Wednesday afternoon. Thank you. So that's it for communications. Do we have any registrants for public comment this evening? We do not, so we'll move to annual reports. Our first report is Finance Director Mark DeVries, and we also have a special guest who will follow him.
Okay, I'm the opening act, and Dan's going to be the headliner. I didn't print these out. If you want a copy, Tammy will have them available on our website for you to print. But I thought we'd save a little bit of paper and a little bit of ink and a little bit of money because I'm cheap. It's going to be a little bit different format than what you've seen in the last couple of years. Usually I stand up here and I talk about all the sexy things we've done in the finance department, how many journal entries we've done, right? Y'all want to know how many journal entries we're going to take it in a little bit different direction. What I've done this year is I've prepared a financial SWOT analysis, and for those of you who aren't familiar with what a SWOT analysis is, it's a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats from the finance director's point of view. So I'm going to go through those right now, and we're going to kick it off with strengths. So this first slide focuses on fund balance. And when we talk about fund balance, we're talking about, for you geeky people, modified accrual basis of accounting, all right? And modified accrual focuses on budgetary compliance, which basically means we're running all of our capital expenditures and debt payments through the operating statement, unlike what you would see with a normal for-profit business. And the reason we do that is because we want to measure, do we have enough coming in to pay the bills going out in a particular period? And whatever's left over after all that's done is called fund balance. So right now, as of the end of the year, we're sitting on about $33.7 million in fund balance. Our fund balance levels are established by policy, which is the reason why you see it's kind of bobbing up and down in between 30 and 35 million over the past 9 years, is because we set a policy that keeps us there between those levels. Anything we got left over, we have to budget to spend, which doesn't seem to be a problem here. So we continually, you'll see that grow incrementally over time as the budget grows, but you can expect to kind of see that bobbing up and down between 30 and 35 million over the course of the next few years. It's a strong fund balance. Our policy requires us to keep 3 months worth of budgeted expenditures as unassigned fund balance, and that's what you see with this light blue piece on the top, is that's all unassigned. We call that spendable working capital, which is, again, that big blue chunk there is spendable working capital. The assigned piece, which is the purple chunk, is made up of two things. One of them is our benefits. So we take time off. We get a time off to take. Those benefits are fully funded. All of our vacation time, our sick time, our comp time is fully funded. In case everyone in the whole entire county were to leave tomorrow, we could pay them all off and still have fund balance left to pay the bills. It's a good policy to have. That tiny little red sliver is restricted. Restrictions are placed by external sources, so that someone's given us money and says, you have to do this for a specific purpose. So that's what that shiny chunk is. And then finally on the top, you get a tiny little sliver that's kind of purplish blue, that's non-spendable. And what we mean by non-spendable, that means that money's already been spent. Can't spend it because it's already been spent. What has it been spent on? Things like inventory. We purchased inventory that we haven't used yet. You can't spend inventory, but it still is part of fund balance because it's still sitting out there waiting to be used. So that's what non-spendable is. Another example of that would be like software licenses for multiple years. We prepaid our software licenses out for 5 years. That's part of non-spendable fund balance. So strong fund balance position, that's good. Our bond rating agencies like that. Next thing I want to focus on is net position. Very much like fund balance, but this is full accrual basis of accounting now. We present, and this is our most recent financial statement, we present our financial information on 2 different bases of accrual because that was supposed to make the financial statements easier to understand. This is more like for-profit accounting where it includes capital assets, it includes debt. So everything that we have out there, including our pension liability, our other post-employment benefit liability that Dan's going to talk about a little bit later, all of that's included in the statement of net position. So you had assets minus liabilities, and then you get these weird things called deferred inflows and outflows, which means basically unrecognized expenses and revenues yet, and then you subtract those against each other and you get to the net position. The good thing about this chart is, first of all, you see it rising over time, which is what we would expect to see. It's very much like our fund balance. But that green sliver up there represents unrestricted net position. And we adopted a standard this year. It's a new standard that was that requires us to book a liability related to other post-employment benefits. And we have two different types of those. We offer health insurance. Our retirees can participate in our health plan, and then we also offer life insurance that retirees can participate in. This is the first year that we're required to bring the entire liability related to those onto the books, and we still wind up with 19.4% of our total net position in a positive position. Now you go down south to some of our community. We like to pick on Illinois here. You go down to Illinois and look at some of their financial statements after the implementation of this standard, and they're in a very serious negative position because of this new standard. So I like to say that that's a very positive thing, almost 20% in unrestricted net position. That big blue piece represents our investment in capital assets, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later. That's a big chunk. That's a big chunk of money, and it's 75% of our total net position is tied up in capital assets. What are our weaknesses? This chart is intended to show you expenses versus revenues by function. So at the bottom of there, you have the different functions, and those are groups of departments. So for instance, general government would include departments like mine, finance, administration, corporation counsel, the clerk's office, and so on. Public safety is obviously going to be the sheriff's department. Public works is going to be departments like Kathy Colley's and Gail's, and so forth. So as you can see, the expenses relative to the revenues that relate to those expenses far outstrip the revenues. None of these programs pay for themselves. Government is not profitable. So we plug the difference with other revenue sources, mainly property tax. This chunk here plus this chunk here, this is 42.1% of the revenues that we bring in to the governmental activities is property taxes. The second, but trailing by a long shot, is charges for services, and those are revenues related to programs, 21.5%. The third is going to be sales tax. Of those top three, we have very little, no direct control, maybe some indirect control over the first two. And we can probably do a little bit to influence charges for services, although a lot of that's set by statute. The point here is, why do I call this a weakness? Because all of these we have little to no control over, no direct control over. We do have some indirect control over it. So that's a weakness. Revenue growth is a weakness. What are our opportunities? A lot of these next slides, in fact, all of them in the opportunities areas were taken from the green book that you all got a while ago. And I did this to just kind of show where we stack up against our surrounding counties. And I call that an opportunity because, as you'll see with almost every single slide I present here, we're always in the middle of our surrounding counties. We're not doing better than everyone else. We're not doing worse than everyone else. We're right around the average there. That puts us in kind of a strategic position. We're all competing for the same type of economic growth, and we can say, hey, you know what? There's a story to be told by the numbers. So here we are, property tax rates per $1,000 of equalized value, right here in the middle. Sales tax per capita. This I thought was fascinating. When I show you some other slides, you can see why this is fascinating. We've got the lowest sales tax per capita of our surrounding counties, and Waukesha doesn't have a sales tax. It's nice to live in Waukesha. So personal income, when you think about personal spendable income, we're in the middle, right? But our sales tax per capita is lower than our surrounding counties. So what does that tell you? That explains why we have such a healthy fund balance, right? We save. We don't spend all our money, right? Same is true for poverty rates. We're right in the middle of our surrounding counties. So the reason for our low sales taxes, the reason for our high fund balance, we're savers, we're not spenders. And you can see that kind of weaves its way through this presentation, that thread. And then finally, Equalized values per capita, we're fourth down on equalized values per capita, and we're right in the middle on levy per capita. So again, strategically placed between what are seen as kind of some of the more affluent counties versus some of the less affluent counties. I think we can capitalize on that. Threats. Here's what keeps your finance director awake at night. The single biggest threat right now that I can perceive is the age of our infrastructure and capital assets. This is the second time that this room has been down this year. We've got no air conditioning. We got small units out there, but earlier in the year it was because of the sound system. And now we're dealing with air conditioning issues. I'm telling you folks, stuff like this comes up almost on a weekly basis lately. We have got to do something about our infrastructure. Here's the reason why. This column here, and for those of you in the back, I'll explain it to you. What I'm showing you here is the gross cost. This is the gross historical cost of all of our governmental activities, capital assets. And now when I say governmental activities, that's everything except for the highway, right? And this column here shows you how far we are into the depreciable life of that asset. For our buildings and improvements, we are 73% depreciated. Now that $31.5 million figure, because these buildings are improvements, they're depreciated over 25 to 50 years. That means that this number is 25 to 50 years old, right? The replacement value of this 31.5% or 31.5 million is double, maybe triple, somewhere between double and triple. Our roads and bridges are doing pretty well. We replace those on schedule. We're paving new ones. They have a 20-year useful life, and our cycle is to do a road the same road every 20 years. So we're doing pretty well there. Equipment, 61.4% in the governmental activities. Over here in the business type activities, you can see this $16.2 million figure. That's the new highway shop, only 13% depreciated. And their equipment, 43.2% depreciated. That, folks, is what keeps me awake at night. What are we going to do about that? That's like the elephant in the room right now. So, in summary, our strength: healthy reserves, strong fiscal policy, good bond rating. Weaknesses: we're heavily reliant upon revenue sources that we have no direct control over. Opportunities: we're positioned fairly well in relation to our surrounding counties. And threats: our infrastructure is aging and costly to replace. So what are we going to do about it here in the finance department? We're going to assist our county administration and other county departments with the assessment of all county-owned capital assets. And then we're going to transfer those assets into a capital asset management system. We're evaluating those right now. What that's going to help us do is track maintenance intervals, the cost of maintenance, so that we know we can schedule maintenance, and if that maintenance doesn't get performed, we know how much cost we've deferred, and we can add that up to tell you what, at any given time, what is the amount of the deferred maintenance that we have outstanding, that we should have done but didn't do. We need to know that. Inventory cost and score county services to determine alignment with the county's strategic plan. We're doing that right now through priority-based budgeting. That you're going to see more of in the upcoming budget cycle. And then finally, analyze, explain, and project financial data into the future. We don't really do very good at projections. We project to the end of the following year, and that's about it. We do have a 5-year capital plan, but I have a feeling that that's not being done very well just because of the situation we're in right now. We need to do a better job at that. But really what we need to do is start projecting 5 to 10 years out into the future so that we can see the impact of the financial decisions we're making now. There are models for that we're looking at also, and you'll be seeing some more of that in the upcoming future as well. Those are all goals in my department that Ben and I have established. What have we been doing? We've been changing everything. It's funny, I was just talking to Ben a couple days ago, talking about this presentation, and I thought, We can sit up here and talk about all the things we're changing, but it's probably going to take less time to talk about the things that we aren't changing, which is nothing. In the last 2 years, there hasn't been anything that we haven't touched in the finance department. Everything that we do, we have changed. Some drastic changes, and some maybe not so drastic, but rest assured that there is nothing that we do that we did 2 years ago that's the same now. We've changed everything. And we're going to continue. We're just getting started. More to come. Dan, it's up to you.
Before we go to the auditor, Dan from Sikich, thank you for that interesting and eye-opening, sobering report.
Thank you all for having me. I appreciate the opportunity to present the results of our audit. You have before you the comprehensive annual financial report. Sorry. We are happy to report to you that you have it in final form. Last year when we were here, and I think the year before too, we were only able to bring it in draft form this early in the month. It was finalized in the prior years shortly after this meeting. But this year you have final documents, not only the the comprehensive annual financial report, but also the single audit and the auditor's communication. I'm happy also to report that the audit went very smoothly. Mark and Tammy did an excellent job preparing for us for both phases of the audit. I don't know if you know it, but we come out in December to kind of get a lay of the land, and a lot of the changes that Mark just alluded to, we had to walk through and understand the changes in internal control that the implementation of the Munis software required and enabled the county to do. That changed a lot of our documentation. We accomplished that in December and then came back in April to actually test the numbers. We're in and out exactly on time. It takes approximately 2 weeks of 3 or 4 staff people and management people out here to test those numbers. And I also want to report that Mark and Tammy did a great job of responding to our questions and our request for documentation to support all those numbers. Mark wrote the report, and if you haven't had a chance to review it, I would strongly recommend you start with the transmittal letter and the management discussion and analysis. The transmittal letter appears immediately before our independent auditor's report, and the management discussion and analysis is right after it. The MD&A, the management discussion and analysis, compares last year to this year's and attempts to explain what changed. So it's very important and very easily read and gives you a little flavor for what the numbers really mean. The independent auditor's report is the best report we're allowed to give. It's commonly referred to as a clean opinion. We refer to it as unmodified. It's the best opinion we're allowed to give. There was one substantial change Mark alluded to in his presentation. We were required to implement a new Government Accounting Standards Board statement for other post-employment benefits. That required the restatement of the prior year's financial statements by about $3.5 million for the governmental activities and over $1 million for the business type activities, the highway department. So about $5 million in total. That liability is for your health and life insurance for people that used to work here but don't anymore, retirees primarily. That will be ongoing. We hope that that number shrinks over time as fewer and fewer members of the retiree sector are involved, but that may not reduce over time. We'll have to wait and see on that. That required 12 additional pages to your report, by the way. Additionally, as ancillary to the audit, we issue the auditor's communication to the Board of Trustees, and we're happy to report we found no material weaknesses to report, no significant deficiencies. So the deficiencies that are within that report don't rise to the level that we are required to put in writing to the members of the board. They're deficiencies which we could have reported only to management and asked that they consider implementing our recommendations for improved internal controls and operational activities, but as a group, management and the auditors decided to go ahead and put those in your documents so that you're as informed as you could possibly be. Also in that document shows one adjusting journal entry, which is remarkable. It's very, very small. We have very, very few clients that have none, and one is infinitesimal. So congratulations to Mark and Tammy on that. We also issued the single audit report. That is for any entity that spends more than $750,000 of federal money in a given fiscal year. Predominantly, that's the Health and Human Services grants, and we had no findings, no question costs in that, so that received a clean opinion as well. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have about the documents before you, the process, or anything else on your minds regarding the audit.
Are there any questions? Thank you, sir, and thank you for spending most of the day with us.
My pleasure.
He was at Finance Committee earlier this morning. Thank you. Our next report is from the Director of the Health Department, Gail Scott. Gail Scott.
Just like at church, I have to lower the microphone all the time. Good evening, and thank you for allowing me to represent the Health Department. I'm Gail Scott, the Director, and you should have all received our report, and I'm not going to go over it because you can read it and look at all the great contributions that the staff made to the report. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you for support of the Health Department and our programs and services and employees. I would also like to thank Ben Waymeyer for all of his guidance and support and his availability and everything that he does for our department. And sincerely would like to thank the employees. We have 5 public health nurses that serve the entire county, so you know that they work very, very hard. And we have 1 office nurse, so they are a hard-working crew, and they are very compassionate about what they do. Just going to highlight just a couple of things. This year we passed our 5-year 140 review, and what that means is that the state comes in and looks at if we're compliant with the statutes and administrative codes that serve the health department, and they look at all of our policies and procedures and our composition of our Board of Health and what the Board of Health does, and et cetera, et cetera. And then they decide if we're a level 1, 2, or 3, and that's based on the number of programs that we can show that are evidence-based and evaluated and that show we make a difference. And we provided 7 programs, and they have to be in 5 of the 23 healthiest Wisconsin focus areas. So we were designated as a level 2. We could have been designated as a level 3, which you have to highlight 15 programs, but the director here, I do not have my master's degree, and that's a requirement of the level 3. So in my succession planning, we are definitely going to have someone with their master's degree in my position when that time comes, not right now. And we also, as you know, we received the Healthy Communities Gold designation that was given out at the last county board meeting. So we are very proud of that partnership with Fort Healthcare and with all the other county departments and nonprofits that assisted us in getting that award. I would like to acknowledge our Board of Health members who have been really active in looking at policy and direction of the health department. Dr. Williams, Dr. Don Williams is our chair. Dick Schultz, Connor Nalen, Maria Dobble is a community member, and Samantha Lemurl is the infection control coordinator at Fort Healthcare. So we're very lucky to have all those people on our board. We also went through a process in 2018, and we're still ongoing in 2019, of developing and implementing a strategic plan. This is our, at least our 2nd strategic plan in the last few years. So we hope to really work on a strategic activity plan, and we did actually update our mission and vision statements for the first time in probably 40 years, and made them more up-to-date and more relevant to our work today. Our 2019 goals are on page 34 in the document. They are more general than the very specific 2018 goals that were evaluated, and that was just due to knowing that this year was going to be a transition year. And that's because we had the retirement of our long-term jail LPN, Diane Lenz. We had resignation of our original jail registered nurse. She had been there since day one, and she was offered a position at the state. Retirement of our public health program manager, Diane Nelson, is coming up in July, and we just hired a new master's prepared public health program manager, and her name is Elizabeth Chilson. So you will hopefully be meeting her sometime. She couldn't make it tonight, but sometime she can come and meet you all. And all of those staff nurses, or all of those positions were replaced, and we just had a resignation of our LPN that works in our clinic and our jail, and right now we are not going to replace her. The staff have decided to give it a go and see how it works. Just keeping in mind our budget for 2020 is one of the main reasons. So our challenges, our budget for 2020. As some of you recall, we had quite a general fund for the health department, or reserve fund, and that was because when we did long-term care, we actually made a profit in that program, or took in more revenue than expenses. And that was spread out over the department, and now that program has been gone. And as Mark said, we are now relying on mostly tax levy and our grants, and a lot of things we can't control either, because our grant funding mostly goes down. It doesn't usually go up too much. We do look for more grant revenue, and there's not a lot out there for public health. But as the time goes on, we hope that we can get a healthy and stable funding for the health department and allow us to have the high quality staff that we need to run these fairly complicated programs. So just so you understand that in 2020, there's going to be a little more change than there has been in recent years when we could cover a lot of our expenses with our reserve fund. And also, we have another challenge, and that is that the current market for registered nurses is not, there aren't a lot of registered nurses out there. A lot of them that are mature, like me, are retiring, and they're not being replaced one for one, and so there is a nationwide shortage of nurses. And so nurses are coming to interview, very few to interview for an open public health nurse position, and they are already making between $3 and $10 or more an hour. And we can't offer them the pay that a lot of them need, because that's what they need to pay their bills. So we have done some creative recruiting and getting ourselves out there, and hopefully we will be able to replace that open position. It's been open since January. We're working on developing a new electronic medical record, and that is because so much is data-driven now and based on outcomes and evaluation, and we need a better system where we can pull out that data. We also want to continue to expand our Talk, Read, Play program, and continue our wonderful work of the Drug-Free Coalition, which is a partnership with many others, including Human Services, and expand try to expand our prenatal care coordination services. We hope to secure a drug-free communities grant, which has a youth prevention focus, and we will need your support on that because we have to have that support and show the federal government that you do support it. Then we hopefully will hear in September whether or not we got it, and it starts at the end of October. We want to continue to promote our WIC services and breastfeeding, again, another prevention services, looking at raising healthy children. And we completed another community health assessment with Dodge County, City of Watertown, Fort Healthcare, Beaver Dam Hospital, and Watertown Regional Medical Center. And we are, again, looking at our community health improvement plan and making changes as needed with this assessment. Mainly, we want to have enough qualified personnel to accomplish all the above. And like Mark said, it's much easier to do preventative maintenance and keep up with your buildings, and it's much cheaper to do prevention activities, which is the heart and soul of a health department. So we appreciate your support, and I will entertain any questions you might have.
Are there any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Our final report for this evening is Human Services Director Kathy Cowley.
All right. Well, hello, everyone. And thank you, Mr. Chair and County Board Supervisors. Obviously, it's time again for our Human Services Annual Report. Historically, I've given you a little bit of information about our accomplishments and shared a success story. I decided it was time to change that up. So we use an adult learning tool at the department called Kahoot. It's an interactive kind of quiz show experience, and I've created a quiz for all of you. So I'm going to share a scenario that we encounter, and we encounter similar scenarios very frequently. And I'll present it in a case interruptus style, and you'll have the opportunity to answer questions as we go. So that's why you received the email about Kahoot, and if you want to play along on your device, now would be the time to open the app or the website. The website's kahoot.it. If you don't want anyone to know your score, just use some kind of nickname or superhero name, something like that, you know. And then we have it up on the board, so you'll need to enter the game pin number to get started. If you don't have a device, there's the paper quiz at your desk top I put out there for you. You can just follow along. So are we ready? We have some devices. Okay. We're going to have to time this a little. We think we have this figured out, but the worst case scenario that's going to happen is a question's going to open on there before I've read it, and you'll see the answers, and you'll have 20 seconds to answer. But hopefully we won't do that. Okay. So, everyone ready? No, don't start yet. Okay. So our quiz is called, What Does Human Services Do? Okay, here's our scenario. Amy is 25 years old. She's worked in a variety of jobs since graduating from high school. When she was one of her jobs, she worked as a certified nursing assistant. She loved it, and she was very good at it, but she hurt her back. She went to her doctor and was prescribed pain medication. She missed a few days of work and was let go. She became depressed and anxious. One night, after old friends pleaded with her to go out, she met up with a young man she knew from high school. He was fun, and they began dating. She continued to struggle with chronic pain. Her doctor had few suggestions that she found helpful. She continued to find and use pain medication and other opioids. The young man who she was seeing had his own substance use issues and issues from his youth, but he was determined to stay sober. Even though they tried hard to be responsible, one day she discovers she's pregnant. She's depressed, she's anxious, and concerned about the impact of the pain medication and the opioids that she's been using on her baby. So she calls our Human Services main number. She's directed to our emergency mental health staff, who is on the phones, and she shares what I've just shared with you. So before we start then, I'm going to read the question and the answers, and then you'll see it come up. All right, so what teams would Amy be directed to at Human Services to help her? Now, these answers aren't going to cover all our teams or all our programs, but just some of them. So A, mental health and substance use outpatient clinic, which has psychotherapists for depression, anxiety, and substance use issues. B, psychiatry for medication. Our medical director can prescribe all the medications for opioid withdrawal. Child protection services for having a drug-endangered baby, or D, all of the above. Okay, then we start. And then we can click that one too. All right, and it's loading. And there you can answer on your device. We have answers coming in. Oh, look at this. There's a number of people playing on devices. It's very impressive out there. All right. I think our answers are all in, and the correct answer is all of the above. All right, and if we can go to the next one and hold on scorecard then.
So I can go next?
Yeah. All right, so here's a little bit more information. Amy meets the next day with a therapist and our psychiatrist. She's prescribed buprenorphine and stays on that. Eventually, over time, she's carefully tapered off of it. She's very worried about her baby. A report is made to Child Protection Services. She meets with the Child Protection Services initial assessment worker, who explains to her what might possibly happen legally and the resources available to her and her baby. So what resources are available for Amy's baby? Birth to 3, a program for children who might have developmental delays, home visiting and WIC through the health department, which Gail just mentioned, our preschool and child care assistance. And again, there's other programs, but those are some of the answers for tonight. Some of our other programs are psychosocial education programs and children long-term support programs. And we can click the next, and you get to choose the answer. Right. Thank you all for participating. We have 14 answers coming in. The correct answer is all of the above. So we can click to the scorecard then. So Amy keeps her appointments with her therapist. She begins to feel her depression, anxiety are more manageable. She's not taking any pain medication. What techniques has her therapist shared with her? A, cognitive behavioral therapy, an evidence-based practice that's been proven to resolve depression and anxiety. Mindfulness, a technique that helps you regulate your emotions in the moment and curb urges to use. Clean, sober, and using mind, a framework that helps you understand where you're at on the using continuum. Or D, all of the above. And we can click to the next one. And the next one. There we go. Thank you very much for participating. Okay, and I think our answers are all in, and the correct answer is all of the above. I can go to the scorecard page. So Amy continues to work hard to have a clean and stable life for her family. She continues to see her boyfriend. He is supportive, but has some things of his own to work on. She starts a part-time job, but she does not have insurance or enough income to cover food, rent, and transportation. What benefits might she be eligible for through the Economic Support Division? A, food share. B, Basher Care Medicaid. C, child care subsidy. Or D, all of the above. And we can click to that next question. There we go. Well, some of you look like you're having fun. All right, and the answers are in. So the correct answer is all of the above. And we're almost at the end here. So Amy needs a number of new items for the baby on the way. Her boyfriend's working hard and struggling with some substance issues of his own. He's currently clean and sober. He's working for a roofing company, but due to the weather, there are many days of no work. Her parents are supportive, but they're in their late 60s and starting to have some serious health issues. Amy does not want to overburden them. Where might she suggest her parents go to see what their options are? A, our Aging and Disability Resource Center, which provides short-term counseling and problem solving for people over the age of 60. A benefit specialist who can help people apply for Social Security and make choices about Medicare. Or C, our Family Support Caretaker Program, which is a federal pot of money that helps family members take care of family members with health issues. Or D, all of the above. And we can click through to that question. Great. answers are in, and the correct answer there is all of the above. Amy's boyfriend is struggling more due to not working and not being able to provide enough income. He has a history of childhood abuse. He was on both a child in need of protection order and a juvenile justice order. He maintains sobriety now as an adult with a lot of hard work. He's determined that his child will have a better life than he did. Amy cannot afford housing on her own, though. She does not want to live with her boyfriend, and she does not want to overwhelm her parents. So what housing options does Amy have? A low-income apartment. B, human service housing. We have 2 programs, one in Fort Atkinson, a partnership with Opportunities. We have 2 3-plexes there, and 1 here in Jefferson. A motel on a week-to-week basis, or D, all of the above. Perfect timing. All right, and the correct answer is all of the above. 2 more to go. Amy has decided to live in human services housing. She's fortunate that there was an opening. She has a healthy baby. She maintains her sobriety. The father of her child continues to be involved. In a few months, she starts to work part-time, and her parents help with childcare. She continues on medication-assisted treatment for opioids. She keeps her therapy appointments, which are now once a month, and attends a Narcotics Anonymous support group. She eventually moves into low-income housing. What might Amy's relapse prevention plan include? Awareness that opioid use disorder is a persistent, remitting illness. This is what science tells us, that most substance abuse disorders are best thought of as long-term illnesses that go into remission, but one needs to watch for particular triggers. B, having people in our life who are honest. C, treatment as needed for the red flags that can emerge to prevent relapse. And D, all of the above. And we can click to the, there we go. All right, and all the answers are in. The correct answer is all of the above. And one last question for you all tonight. Our question number 8. Did Human Services have a surplus in 2018? Yes or no? Are the answers. So we can click through to the... All right, correct answer is yes. We had a nice surplus, and I want to thank you all for playing along tonight. I hope you enjoyed it, or at least enjoyed it more than just listening to me talk for a change. I give you an A+ for your excellent answers there, but also for your willingness to play along here. I want you to know the department remains determined and committed to provide the highest quality services for people who live in our county. We do have a number of new initiatives going on, but I know you're obviously all awesome students now, so you can read about them in our 160-page report. I want to thank our chairman, Jim Schrader, and all of you for your ongoing interest, support, and assistance. We have 4 county board supervisors who serve on our Human Service Board. Supervisor Russ Coots brings a wealth of fiscal expertise and experience. He asks us insightful questions, and he gets us to a better place. And Supervisor Teets brings a dedication to healthy communities and years of public service and collaborating and knowing how to get things done. Supervisor Dick Jones brings his insightful awareness of the issues and his fiscal acumen to every single meeting. And lastly, our Human Service Board Chair, Supervisor Mode, has served as our tireless chair for 13 years. He's gone above and beyond to attend association meetings, commission meetings, to be educated and informed, all in an effort to provide the best guidance and support for the county and the department. Last month, you heard our county administrator, Mr. Waymeyer, say, "Government is a team sport." He said it very eloquently, and never was it more true than in the Human Services Department. It takes a hardworking, effective team that you're all a part of to make good things happen for people. And I humbly thank you all very much. I've asked you a lot of questions. Do you have any questions for me?
You have to give her at least one. Supervisor Jones.
What does third place get?
Let me see. We have some, I don't know. I'll buy you a cup of coffee.
Any other questions? Thank you. That concludes annual reports for this evening. Now we'll go to committee reports, resolutions, and ordinances. First, to the Executive Committee, with a resolution for discussion and possible action on amending the county's strategic plan. Supervisor Renard, please.
So I invite your attention to this document that you should all have received. The changes that are being recommended by the Executive Committee are both contained in goal number 1. First is the wording of the goal itself, which you can see in red there. And the second one is under the heading Educate. The change was made to 4K to 12 from just K to 12. These changes were recommended to the committee by our county administrator, working with Diane Chamness, who is the facilitator of the strategic plan, based on their conversations and some feedback that they received. And I would ask Administrator Waymeyer to talk a little bit about the background that led to these changes being recommended by the Executive Committee.
I think as we talked last month, when we presented this plan about over a year ago now, the intent was having a living document that didn't stay stale. And as we started looking through the action plan of things that got accomplished, in some cases things that did not get accomplished, it also focused us on saying truly how these align with some of our priorities, and is this truly part of our strategic vision? And so that was a challenge that in one of our meetings we tossed out to the committee, was saying, are the goals that we have not put together yet, and the wording of it, is that driving the overall vision and mission of the county and where we want to head? And the other challenge was, is the vision and mission still relevant in terms of our conversations as things have evolved over a year? And so they asked for some interviews to take place, some feedback practices to take place. The other big thing was just more of the format to make sure this was easy to read, especially externally. Oftentimes we internally work on documents quite a bit. We know what it says, or believe we know what it says, but is it communicated in a proper format as someone picking it up can understand what we're trying to convey to the public of our goals and our strategic objectives? So that was the other big part of the rewrite of the goals as a whole, is we started with 11 and we got it down to 5 with a lot more, I guess, robust definition of what those goals actually mean. I'd also be remiss, we brought forward these 2 items that were brought forward, but we did have some public comment at the Executive Committee related to sustainability and comments along that line. So that was discussed. There was some language in here, but I want to make sure everyone is aware that was brought forward at the Executive Committee as well.
Thank you, Mr. Waymeyer. So we're looking for a motion to approve the amended strategic plan.
So moved.
Moved and seconded to amend the strategic plan as presented to you this evening. Discussion. We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Okay, votes are locked. We have 28 yes, 0 no, and 2 absent.
The plan is amended. Now to the Finance Committee with a resolution disallowing the claims of Deidre and the estate of Brian Supervisor Jones, please.
Resolution number 2019-23. Thank you. Claims have been made against Jefferson County for damages. The claims have been reviewed by the county's insurance carrier, WMIC, and are recommended for disallowance based on the finding that the county has no liability for these claims and is not legally responsible for the alleged damages. This resolution formally denies said claims filed against Jefferson County and directs the Corporation Council to give the claimants notice of disallowance. The Finance Committee considered this resolution on June 11, 2019, and recommended forwarding to the County Board to deny the claims. Fiscal note, this matter has been referred to Wisconsin Municipal Mutual Insurance Company and will be resolved in accordance with the terms of the county's policy. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Is there a second? Moved and seconded to disallow the claims of Deidre and the estate of Brian Discussion. All in favor say aye. Opposed, no. The claim is disallowed. Next, a resolution accepting the foster parent incentives grant funding through the State of Wisconsin Department of Children and Families. Supervisor Jones.
Resolution number 2019-24. Jefferson County Human Services was recently awarded a grant from the State of Wisconsin Department of Children and Families to assist local efforts to support foster parents and normalcy opportunities for children and out-of-home care. 52 agencies applied for the 12 grants available through the Department of Children and Families. Jefferson County will receive a grant in the amount of $36,000 to fund activities, incentives, and support for foster families from July 1, 2019 to June 30, 2020. The grant award requires Jefferson County to construct a weather-resistant storage shed to hold children's clothing, hygiene supplies, toys, and other items, which is considered a capital project. On June 11, 2019, the Finance Committee considered this resolution and recommended forwarding to the County Board to accept grant funding in the amount of $36,000 from the Department of Children and Families. Fiscal note, the foster parent incentive grant is for 12 months for a total of $36,000. Jefferson County will receive reimbursement for costs incurred in 2019, which are estimated to be $24,600, and reimbursement for the remainder of the costs, which are estimated to be $11,400 in 2020. This is a budget amendment. County Board approval requires a 2/3 vote of the entire membership of the County Board. 20 votes of the 30-member County Board. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Moved and seconded to accept the foster parent incentives grant funding through the State of Wisconsin Department of Children and Families. Discussion. With a roll call, please. 20 votes are required for adoption.
Votes are locked. We have 28 yes, 0 no, and 2 absent.
The resolution is adopted. Finally, from the Finance Committee, a resolution authorizing sale of tax delinquent property to the City of Watertown. Supervisor Jones, please.
Resolution number 2019-25. Jefferson County commenced the foreclosure action for unpaid taxes and currently holds title to property located at 905 East Main Street, Watertown, Wisconsin. Property identification number 291081504112009, with the principal amount of delinquent taxes and interest totaling $75,719. This parcel of property had been abandoned by the owner, was formerly operated as a gas station. Due to environmental condemnation, the property qualified for remediation funding through the DNR Remediation and Redevelopment Program. After remediation was complete to the satisfaction of the City of Watertown, the city informed Jefferson County that it was interested in purchasing this parcel of land and entered an agreement for the purchase of tax delinquent property subject to ratification by the Watertown Common Council and the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors. The Jefferson County Real Estate Tax Foreclosure Policy adopted by the Finance Committee authorizes the sale of land to the municipality where the foreclosed property is located at a cost equal to delinquent taxes and interest. The Finance Committee recommended making an exception to this policy after determining that based on this property's former use as a gas station, the possibility that additional remediation may be required, the likelihood of receiving a bid at the fair market value or for the amount of outstanding taxes and interest was unlikely. The Finance Committee also recommended selling directly to the City of Watertown for $25,000 without following the usual publication and bidding procedures when selling tax delinquent property as authorized by Section 75.69 sub 3 of the Wisconsin statutes based on the city's plan to use this property for a public park. This resolution ratifies the agreement for the purchase of tax delinquent property and authorizes the Jefferson County Clerk to convey the above parcel of real property to the City of Watertown upon payment of the $25,000. The Finance Committee considered this resolution at a meeting on June 11, 2019, and recommended forwarding to the County Board for approval. Fiscal note, the proceeds from the sale in the amount of $25,000 will be applied toward delinquent taxes and interest incurred for this property. Mr. Chair, I move for passage of this resolution.
Moved and seconded to authorize sale of tax delinquent property to the City of Watertown. Discussion. Supervisor Mode, please. Then Supervisor Kelly.
I have one question. Is the $25,000 covering the amount of the delinquent tax? Because the way I understand it, that's what the county had paid to the city when the taxes were paid.
Correct. The answer is a little bit complicated, but who wants to take a stab at it? Mr. DeVries?
So there's different components to delinquent tax. There's the actual property tax that was assessed. There's interest and penalties that were assessed. And then there's also any type of special taxes that were applied towards that property. We recovered the property taxes and interest only. The special taxes we negotiated with the city on.
Supervisor Kelly.
What is the city going to do with the property?
Mr. Waymeyer, I don't think there's a clear answer at this point, but there's some speculation.
No, there's not clear. I know there's been a lot of conversations and with the former mayor, they were talking about turning the green space. There might be some other public purposes. The spaces, if you're familiar with it, is a triangle parcel almost that is really tight, and so part of it is not knowing if anything could even be built on there right now. So we worked with the DNR, so all the tanks were taken out. That was done this past summer, so that's a good thing in terms of moving that project forward.
Thank you.
Supervisor Teets, please.
Yeah, I can probably add a little bit to that. The park committee in Watertown had looked at this property for some time, and we thought it would be a good use. And so we really pushed to get this through. And now that it is up at a point where we may acquire it, I think originally it will start off as a green space and a park with maybe some welcome sign and with statues or something for the downtown area. But there's also talk of taking that bend out of Sharp Corner, which is a very dangerous curve. So there's a number of things kicking around, but right now, yeah, it'll be park green space.
Thank you for the update, Supervisor Teets. Further discussion? Okay, the question before the board is authorizing sale of tax delinquent property to the city of Watertown. We'll have a roll call vote, please.
Sit down. Okay, votes are locked. We have 28 yes, 0 no, and 2 absent.
The resolution is adopted. Now to the Parks Committee with a resolution supporting the continuation of the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program. Supervisor Teets, please.
Resolution number 2019-26. Since 1996, Jefferson County has received $1,029,781 in funding from the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program, used for land acquisition and recreational development on projects such as the Glacial River Trail, Rose Lake acquisition, Courth Park acquisition, Elk Farm acquisition, Dorothy Carnes Park, Rose Lake, and the Interurban Trail. The Knowles Nelson Stewardship Fund is available each year in the form of grants to local units of government and nonprofit conservation organizations. This resolution allows Jefferson County support for the continuation of the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program. The Parks Committee considered this resolution at its meeting June 3rd, 2019, and recommended forwarding to the County Board for approval. Excuse me. Be it further resolved that the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors supports the continuation of the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be forwarded to County Clerk, to Governor Tony Evers, the Wisconsin Counties Association, and Jefferson County's legislative representatives for the purpose of requesting that they assist in this endeavor. Fiscal note, this resolution has no immediate fiscal impact. The fiscal impact will be determined upon receipt of funding from the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program. I move for resolution 2019-25.
Moved and seconded to support the continuation of the Knowles Nelson Stewardship Program. Discussion. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. Now to the Planning and Zoning Committee with a report on approval and denial of petitions, followed by the ordinance amending the zoning ordinance. Supervisor Nass, please.
Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee, having considered petitions to amend official zoning map of Jefferson County, filed for public hearing on January 17th, 2019, March 14th, 2019, May 16th, 2019, as required by law pursuant to Wisconsin statutes, notice thereof having been given, being duly advised of the wishes of the town boards and persons in the area affected, hereby makes the following recommendations: the approval of petitions as listed below, and the denial of a petition 4152A-19, dated this day, May 19th, 2019, Blaine Paulson, Secretary. Which takes us to the ordinance, and the ordinance number is
3.
ordinance number 3. I move for the passage of the ordinance as printed.
Moved and seconded to amend the zoning ordinance as printed. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The ordinance is amended. Now, from the Planning and Zoning Committee, a resolution denying petition to amend the zoning ordinance. Supervisor Nass, please.
Resolution number 2019-27, denying petition to amend the zoning ordinance, whereas the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors has heretofore been petitioned to amend the official zoning map of Jefferson County for a new building site on Duck Creek Road in the town of Jefferson, and whereas the petition R4152A-19 was referred to Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee of public hearing May 16, 2019, and whereas the proposed amendment was given due consideration by the Jefferson County Planning and Zoning Committee after public hearing held on May 16, 2019, as required by law, and the committee, after consulting the town of Jefferson board and receiving public comment, made a recommendation to deny that petition numbers listed previously. And whereas the proposed building site has been designated as a wetland and is entirely in the floodplain, and whereas the Planning and Zoning Committee determined that there's no buildable site on the parcel of property described in the petition. Now therefore be it resolved, the Jefferson County Supervisors, that petition 4152A-19 submitted by Michael Bright to rezone 2 acres of A1 to A3 of the PIN as numbers listed here to create a new building site in Duck Creek Road in the town of Jefferson is hereby denied for the reasons stated herein, and more particularly stated in the Planning and Zoning Committee report to the County Board dated May 28, 2019, and minutes and official record of public hearing May 16, 2019. There's no fiscal impact. I move for the passage of this resolution.
Moved and seconded to deny the petition to amend the zoning ordinance. Discussion. All in favor of denying the petition, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The resolution is adopted. Now, appointments by the county administrator. Mr. Waymeyer, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. By virtue of the authority invested in 59.118, subparagraph 2, subparagraph B of the Wisconsin statute, I respectfully request confirmation of the following appointments. Tim Semo of Johnson Creek to the Jefferson County Library Board to fill the unexpired term of Nancy Lust ending December 31st, 2021. And Ari Roberts of Watertown, Wisconsin to the Zoning Board of Adjustments for a 3-year term ending July 1st, 2022. I respectfully request confirmation of these appointments.
We have a motion and a second. Okay. Thank you. Moved and seconded to confirm the appointments. Discussion. All in favor of confirming the appointments, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The appointments are confirmed. Now, appointments by the Human Services Board. Supervisor Mode, please.
By virtue of the authority vested in the Human Services Board under Section 3.06, subparagraph 1, subparagraph G of the County Board Rules, the Human Services Board hereby requests County Board's confirmation of the following appointment. Carol Ellingson of Jefferson to the Nutrition Project Council for a 3-year term ending June 9th, 2022. Ruth Fege, Jefferson, Wisconsin to the Aging and Disability Resource Center Advisory Committee for a 3-year term ending July 1st, 2022. Janet Sarah Haft of Johnsons Creek, Wisconsin to the Aging and Disability Resource Center Advisory Committee for a 3-year term ending July 1st, 2022. Marcia Bear, Jefferson, Wisconsin to the Aging and Disability Resource Center Advisory Committee for a term ending July 1st, 2021. Russell Coots, Jefferson, Wisconsin to the Aging and Disability Resource Center Advisory Committee for a 3-year term ending July 1st, 2021. And Ellen Sawyers, Helenville, Wisconsin to the Aging and Disability Resource Center Advisory Committee for a 3-year term ending July 1st, 2022. I move for the adoption of these appointments.
Second.
Moved and seconded to confirm the appointments as presented. Discussion. Supervisor Brogler, please.
It's just a numerical thing, but on Russell Coots, his is a 3-year term ending July 1st, 2021, Everyone else's is a 3-year term ending July 1, 2022. Is that because of his election cycle?
Can we confirm those terms?
It's because we made a
Ms.
mistake.
Cawley.
It's because we made a mistake and we failed to have him appointed in 2018, and I apologize for that oversight.
Okay, thank you.
So you have to give back all your per diems?
He kept showing up.
Further discussion? All in favor of confirming the appointment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. The appointments are confirmed. Now to the UW Extension Education Committee with a proclamation. Supervisors Astro, please.
Proclaiming the month of June as Dairy Month in Jefferson County. Whereas drinking 3 or 4 8-ounce glasses of milk each day is recommended for youth and adults. And whereas there are 77 dairy herds and 13,800 dairy cows in Jefferson County, whereas dairy cows in Jefferson County produce 332 million pounds of milk per year, and whereas each dairy cow produces 23,600 pounds of milk per year, resulting in $15,000 to $17,000 of economic activity per dairy cow. And whereas farm and rural families are an important part of Jefferson County's identity and culture, whereas agricultural enterprises are a focus area in the county's emerging economic vision, and whereas the University of Extension Education Committee at its June 10, 2019 meeting considered this proclamation and recommended forwarding it to the County Board of Supervisors for adoption. Now there be it resolved that the Jefferson County Board of Supervisors hereby proclaims the month of June 2019 as Dairy Month in Jefferson County. Before I ask for this to be accepted, I have a personal comment about the dairy industry. We have lost over 1,100 dairy farms in our state in the past 15 months. Now, this might not seem too important to some of you if you're not familiar with a dairy farm, but a dairy farm is an individual business. So this means 1,100 businesses went out of business during the last 15 months, just in the dairy industry. And this is a very sad situation. It's due to the fact that milk prices are low. These families can no longer continue to operate. On many of these farms, there are father-son situations, so there's 2 or 3 families on the dairy farm, so it affects an awfully lot of people. So I just want you to keep that in mind. As of today, they say we're still losing 2 every day. So now I will move to accept the proclamation. Thank you.
Moved and seconded to proclaim the month of June as Dairy Month for Jefferson County. And thank you for providing that information, Supervisor Hatcher. Yes.
But I wasn't forced out in this manner.
All in favor of the proclamation, say aye. Aye. Opposed, no. June is proclaimed as Dairy Month for Jefferson County. Now is public comment of a general nature. Are there any members of the public who wish to address the board? Sir, would you come up and identify yourself, please? Would you please come to the podium and use the microphone, sir? Thank you.
I'm Attorney Robert Bender from Watertown, Wisconsin. This is a question as opposed to comment. I was told by the Planning Committee Administrator that tonight the board would consider a land division of the Carl Zinser estate and a rezoning of the 3-acre parcel that had been approved by the committee. I didn't hear a word about it in tonight's meeting, and I'm curious to why that wasn't being considered by the board tonight.
Okay, thank you. We are not permitted to engage in dialogue during public comment. What I would suggest is that you get together with our county administrator, Mr. Waymeyer, and perhaps the chair of the Planning and Zoning Committee, Supervisor Nass, would like to join in as well, and they'll have a conversation with you about that, sir.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Okay, we go to proclamation, or announcements, rather. Okay. Well, we'll go to announcements, and we'll start off the announcements by, we have July is a big month for events in Jefferson County. I'm going to put some people on the spot, starting with our Fair Park Director, Ms. Liesel. If you could tell us the dates of the Jefferson County Fair and any other highlights you'd like to share with us, please use the microphone.
Thanks, Jim. Hi, everyone. I'm Amy Listel, the Jefferson County Fair Park Director, and the 167th Jefferson County Fair is July 10th through the 14th. We're celebrating Year of the Carnival this year. We have had our carnival, Mr. Ed's Magical Midways, for the last 10 years, so this is a big anniversary for us, for them, and we wanted to highlight that. We will have wristband specials every day, lots of 4-H, FFA, junior, open, and senior exhibits at the fair. Our open class entries are still open. If any of you want to show at the fair, we would welcome that. And we will bring our fairs to the fair, I believe, to County Board next month and introduce her. She's Libby Knabel from Helenville. Her family owns Jelly's Market, so we're very proud to have her representing the fair this year, and lots of fun for the whole family, so we hope you come out and join us.
Thank you for a great job being put on the spot. Next on the spot is Mr. Georgeson. We have a big one coming up in July.
That we do. Farm Technology Day is July 23rd, 24th, and 25th. We've got some unique aspects to it. Ag Career Day, we'll be inviting students from across Wisconsin to come and learn about the industry and meet with people throughout the 10-city area, the 650 exhibitors and vendors. On Wednesday, we've got some opportunity to highlight Jefferson County, and that was relates back to the discussions we had way back as we were formulating whether we wanted to take on this task about how can we highlight Jefferson County, recognize the agriculture components, and also bring people back to Jefferson County and have them use this as a destination for recreation and tourism in our industry and community as part of economic development. So on Wednesday afternoon, we're having an event that is a bit of a block party. And within that block party, we're going to be having a taste of Jefferson County. We're applying for a permit for beer and wine, and we've got a number of food vendors. We have a lot of unique foods in Jefferson County with rushing waters, and some of our artisan cheeses, and a variety of our cheese curds were nominated for from Crawfish Junction and Milford were nominated as the best cheese curds in North America, so we're going to be featuring those. We've got a lot of food vendors coming, and some working with Tyranina Brewery, some excellent resource people there to be providing some resources. So we've got sponsorships for a sampling event. It'll be running from 3:30 to 6:30, as was mentioned earlier. Charlie Barron's, also represented as the Manitowoc Minute Guy on Facebook, will be in attendance and making appearance throughout the grounds, and is going to be a feature there. And we've got a lot of other things that are going on within that. Volunteers, I'm happy to say, we're just went over the 1,000 volunteer number today, and that's really I appreciate the people that have been supporting us and letting people know that where we're at with that. The volunteers, we still have the opportunity, if you'd like to drive tractor and view the grounds and the events from the comfort of a tractor seat or the back of a tram and go around. We still have a need for that, and we're looking at some of our parking opportunities are still there too, and there's some other volunteer opportunities. We expect to be approaching 1,300 or 1,400 volunteers before this is all done and over with, and daily we're getting a lot of interest and a lot of people that are getting engaged in this. As was stated in the video that was sponsored by the family, we have a lot to highlight and a lot to showcase in Jefferson County, so it's really an opportunity for us to come together as a community And we're looking forward a little bit, is using this as a springboard towards 2021. And I know there are conversations that are going on about what that's going to be looking like as well. So if you have questions, I'll be around afterwards, but we've got some exciting and dynamic things, and we're looking forward to the culmination of 3 years of planning and organization and community engagement. So great opportunity. Come on out and see us. Opening ceremonies will be at 9:30 on Tuesday morning, and some of you will be present there, and a variety of things to do throughout the show. So come on out.
Thank you. And finally, for county-sponsored events, do we have any Brew with a View events coming up? Somebody from the Parks Committee share those dates with us? Supervisor Teets?
I will try. I'll have to look at my calendar. Do you have them?
Yeah, 28th, coming up this month.
28th of this month, starting at 5 o'clock
Correct.
at Corth Park on the western shores of beautiful Rock Lake. Okay, thank you. Any other announcements? Mr. Waymeyer.
So I have two. So the first one, an email communication I sent out to the board, we're trying to get a joint meeting concerning the budget with chairs and department heads. So I would request, before you leave tonight, see our finance director and let them know your availability for June 20th and 21st so we can try to maximize participation in that. So the last one is actually a goodbye. Someone's sitting in the corner over there, Mr. Chris Welch, who's one of our reporters we've built a relationship with. This is his final meeting with us. I've appreciated the opportunity relationship built with Chris in terms of reporting and helping us get the story out and doing it in such an integrity and honest way. I've also had fun in your classroom, so good luck as you go down that path even more in terms of educating the future of our area. So best of luck to you.
That means you can't leave, Steve. Any other announcements? Motion to adjourn. Moved and seconded to adjourn. Is there any objection? We are adjourned. Thank you.